Nepal's embattled Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli will be seeking a vote of confidence from Parliament today in his bid to stay in power. And in the latest development, Oli has now urged all the CP and UML leaders to come and cast their votes today in Parliament and to not take any undesirable step against the party. In a fresh statement, KP Sharma Oli stated that recently attempts have been made against him to harm the party and that they are not at all appropriate. He has come forward to encourage the leaders to further strengthen the party by expressing confidence in his leadership. The House of Representatives will decide the fate of Oli, and it remains to be seen if Oli will continue to reign or if he loses power. The development comes after the CPN Maoist Centre, led by Pushpa Kamal Dahal or Prachanda, withdrew support to his government. 5 ministers and 25 members of parliament testing positive for coronavirus has also cast a shadow over the upcoming vote of confidence. However, an 18-member committee has decided that no coronavirus-infected lawmakers would be deprived of their right to vote. The infected parliamentarians would be kept in a separate room for the voting process. There will be 2 options left for Oli if he fails to garner the majority support at this trust vote. First will be to dissolve the House and declare polls. The second will be to seek support from other parties to run the government for the remaining 2 years of his term. The rift between Oli and the section of his party widened after Oli dissolved parliament on December 10th last year. The relationship between Oli and Madhav Kumar Nepal soured further after he suspended the latter and his faction from his party. The Madhav Kumar faction is also creating parallel party structures after animosity grew with Oli. Out of 121 seats, Oli has the support of 86 lawmakers, while the Kumar faction holds sway over 35. According to several Communist Party leaders, Kumar's faction is likely to cross the floor or abstain from the trust vote. We are now being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, for more updates on this story. Siddhant, thanks so much for joining us on this broadcast. Now, we know that Nepal's Prime Minister Oli is aiming to consolidate his grip on the party. So what lies ahead for the embattled Prime Minister?
Well, the trust vote is kind of a political gamble for Oli, but he is known as a maverick politician because whatever be the result of the vote of confidence, whether he wins it or whether he does not win it, it puts Nepal in a position where Oli sees as an advantage for him, because if he wins the entire vote of confidence, then of course this is he continues with his prime ministership. But even if he loses, the country goes to polls. But the big question also is, while this development is happening, it is Nepal, the people of Nepal, who suffer, given the fact that the COVID numbers have been substantially increasing in the country, and that the current situation, the political impasse in the country, impacts the governance.
Right. That brings me to my follow-up question, Siddhant. Now, Nepal's political crisis is deepening, and that too in the face of surging COVID-19 cases, as you just pointed out. We're also getting reports of the healthcare infrastructure being overwhelmed in the country. Now, all this, does it cast a doubt on the Oli government and its political future as of now?
Well, if you look at the situation of COVID crisis for last few months and currently as well, the cases have been surging. There has been criticism when it comes to KP Sharma Oli. In fact, when the first wave hit last year, again the same thing was happening. It was the politics of KP Sharma Oli that was dominating the headline, not the governance part. He faced a lot of criticism, but that did not impacted his political future. In fact, Nepal has been into political crisis, especially from December, when KP Sharma Oli took the decision of dissolving the parliament. Then, of course, the parliament was reinstated by the Supreme Court. And once it was reinstated, he decided to go for vote of confidence. And that, of course, is today. The vote of confidence takes place today. So it is all about politics, it seems, in Nepal rather than the COVID crisis.
Right. Siddhant, just a follow-up question to that before we wrap up our discussion. What are political commentators in Nepal saying? Where is the trust vote headed?
Well, it is too close to call. You do not know where it goes, whether KP Sharma Oli wins or whether it is the opposition that is able to plot something that of a surprise. So it is something that will only be known once it happens. So the political commentators are not making a definite move, but it looks like, given the track record of KP Sharma Oli of coming out with magic numbers, perhaps he could win it.
Right. We'll leave it there. Siddhant, thank you so much for all your inputs and thank you for joining us on this broadcast. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.